Hi, it's Dr. Young, and hey, thanks for joining me again today. It's one of our weekly webinars every Thursday between 1 and 1:30. I am on here trying to connect you with people, topics, services that I think are of interest to you. So today it's actually going to be me. I had somebody else scheduled to talk about leadership, but their schedule changed. So today we'll be talking about how to manage attitudes and entitlement issues in your clinic. I think that's a hot topic for a lot of you. So let me start my slideshow. And if you have questions, just type them in the chat box there on your right-hand side of the screen. So if you could just let me know that you can hear me okay. And then also that you can see my slideshow. It should say on your screen how to manage attitudes and entitlement issues in your clinic. If you could just write in there, I can hear you or I can see, that'd be great. Okay, great. Excellent. All right, so how to manage attitudes and entitlement issues in your clinic. Hot topic and one that I hear about a lot as a coach in clinics. And let's see. Okay, so you are probably a practice owner. If the slides are blurry, it might be on your end. They look pretty clear on my end. So hopefully that's not going to distract you too much. Hopefully it's going to work out. But you are probably a practice owner or a practice manager. And the whole idea of you doing what you do is to make a difference, to create something better than what existed before. And of course, with that comes creating change. And that's difficult for a lot of people, not so much not so much coming up with the idea of change, what you want to see, but then implementing it. So you probably see a huge potential in your clinic and your staff, except for those few people with quote unquote strong personalities. I've heard that term a lot this week. Those people that have attitudes that give you lip, or they have what we call entitlement issues. That also, as far as the attitude, refers to people that talk behind your back or that gossip, or they think sarcasm is funny when really it's not, or they roll their eyes behind your back. So all of those attitudes. Then, thinking about this, who's giving you the most trouble out of the staff? And sometimes it's the owner. So if you are a practice manager and you try to go to the owner to tell them about the problems that you're having with staff members, they may listen to you, but then they may not fix anything, or they may not stand behind you to support you in the solutions that you think you have. It can also be doctors. As far as attitudes, I hear that a lot, that doctors have attitudes. And I think part of that is you are a practice manager. So, somehow you are below them. I think doctors think that a lot. I can say that because I'm a vet, and I don't know that I used to think that, but we have, as doctors, we have some sort of integrity, or we want to be looked up to. So if you don't do that for your doctors, that's a big problem. If you don't look up to them in some way, at least if they don't feel like you do, if they're just, part of the crowd, that's going to be a problem, and you're going to get attitudes. Now, doctors can also show favoritism to some of your staff members over others, or they can be the ones talking back to you, or they can be the ones who are passive aggressive. They appease you in front of you or a few people, but then behind your back, they aren't going to do what they just said that they were going to do, or they talk negatively about you. Technicians, there can be entitlement issues with technicians, especially if you are a practice manager and you haven't been either working in this clinic as long as they have, or you haven't been in this position as long as they've been working there. So a lot of times practice managers get promoted from the inside up into this position, and that's really tough for you guys. Then the other thing that happens with technicians a lot is absenteeism. They just don't show up for work, and you need them. You rely on them. You only have 1 or 2 licensed vet techs, and they're an important part of your clinic and providing the services that you need to provide. Technicians can get into gossiping, and sometimes they even get into bullying other staff members. And then other people who can give you problems are supervisors, group managers, and even CEOs, the ones that walk through your clinic and don't really have a good understanding of what's going on, and they just don't want to listen to you. So what have you done so far? Maybe you have talked or tried to talk to the clinic owner. Maybe you've held meetings. Maybe you've spoken to the person who's giving you the most problems, and you've basically said, this isn't working anymore. Don't do this, don't do that. If you continue to do this, then, or else kind of thing. You may have written the person up several times. You may have spoken to their peers, either in a group setting or individually. And you maybe even have spoken to them on an individual basis over and over about the specific problem. And so my question for you is, how's that working for you so far? Are you getting someplace? Has any of that worked for you? If it has, just a little bit, don't give up. Go do it again and continue doing it and just adding more to it. If it's working a little bit, don't give up. If it's not working at all, don't keep doing it, because it's not going to work for you. So let's address your pain. The real pain is that you're not being heard. You're not being heard when you talk to the clinic owner. You're not being heard when you have those meetings, your staff meetings, especially when the staff meetings only happen once in a blue moon, or even if you have the staff meetings every month. I don't think that's enough for you, especially if you're having problems, because usually those staff meetings then are just about, hey, these are the things that we want to implement. It's nothing about creating relationships with your staff members, and that's going to be huge. You may have talked to individuals and you're still not being heard. Basically, you're having a discussion instead of a conversation. So why aren't you being heard? The huge thing is because you're not speaking their language. What does that mean? Because the attitudes don't just happen because your staff member wakes up in the morning and decides that, okay, I'm going to create trouble in the clinic. The attitudes don't just happen overnight. This has been going on for a really long time. And now for you to be understood, you actually have to understand them first. I keep saying that, and it's a really difficult topic to understand. For you to be heard, you need to hear them first. They're acting out because you're not giving them what they need. And so it's up to you to figure out what they need. If you go to somebody and say, I've noticed that you're not happy here because you're doing blah, 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 blah. Why is that? That might be a great conversation starter for you. Maybe they don't even know what they need. So go back to, what do you want? What can I do to make your life here in this clinic better? And then just sit back and listen. And you might not get any reply for a really long time because nobody has ever said that to them. Nobody has ever asked them to figure out why they're acting like they are without actually saying, why are you doing that? If you ask somebody that, they probably don't even know. Well, I'm just, doing because he did blah, blah, blah. But why do you have to act like that? So it's really trying to get back to what they need and what they want. Why are they working for you in the first place? Make sense? And then understanding that they want what you want. They want clarity. They want to feel confident, and they want to be understood, and they want to understand. So clarity comes by setting goals. Have clear goals for yourself. So, you're the practice manager or the practice owner in your clinic. What goals have you set for your clinic for this year? Let's just say for the next 12 months. What are your goals? I had this conversation with a clinic on Monday night, and I was talking to, it's run by two practice owners, and I was talking to them together on a conference call. What are your goals for this next year? What are your goals for the next 12 months? And they really had to think about it, because up until then, they really hadn't given it a thought. Everything's going okay. These problems are probably more your problems as a practice manager than a practice owner, because everything's going okay, 80% of the time, and the money is still good, and we're in the black. But let's look at the problems that you're having. How do we want to fix them? What are your goals? And as we talked about the goals, then it made sense about, okay, let's hone in on specifically one of these goals, and let's see how the staff is around that goal. So for instance, they wanted to improve a part of their diagnostics, their ultrasound. The people that are brought into that section, who are those people working with you on that? And do they have attitudes? And actually an entitlement issue came up because one person had been working there for a really long time, and yet she wasn't acknowledged for the fact that she's been working there for a long time. And even though she doesn't have the licensure that the LVT has, and a certification that another veterinary assistant had, just the fact that she had worked there for so long gave her some insights that nobody else had, but she wasn't being recognized for that. So don't forget that longevity means something, even if it's a kennel person, because they've worked with you for so long, they have picked up things that nobody else knows. So make sure that you focus in on that. So be clear on what you want, so that you can create the environment that you want. And as far as change always starts with you. And it's easy to change as long as you know what your goals are. And of course, set realistic goals. Don't go, way out there. Just set up some goals for the next 12 months. If a year is too much for you, is too long for you because you can't think that far out, then just set goals for a quarter or 6 months, but set realistic goals, and then get help. So with getting help actually comes the confidence, because you need to talk to somebody about those goals. That can be your clinic owner. That should be your clinic owner. If that's a problem, I had a conversation with a client, a new coaching client this morning, and she had problems talking to the clinic owner. She had tried it in the past, but then that person didn't have her back. So to me, that meant the goals weren't clear enough. They might have been clear to her, but not to the clinic owner yet. or the clinic owner didn't buy into those goals. The two of you, the clinic owner and the practice manager, they have to be on the same page. Otherwise, your culture is not going to change. And that's what you're doing when you're managing attitudes and entitlement issues. You want to change the culture. So you need to talk to somebody who's going to have your back. You need to create a plan for the culture you want. So as you think about the goals, think about the staff members who are going to help you with achieving those goals. And a lot of times you need to know somebody's strengths and weaknesses, who can help you and who you're not going to ask. Also, as to improve your confidence, ask your clinic owner or whoever is above you about his or her expectations of you. When you were hired in, everything was so new and there was so much stuff that you had on your plate and so many things that you thought you were going to change and you were going to affect, and policies, systems, procedures you were going to create. Now that isn't such a new thing anymore, sit back and really think about, what are the expectations of you in your job. So basically going back to your job description, pull it back out and go through it and read it again, highlight it, circle things, put question marks next to them, and ask your owner about his or her expectations of you. And you need to know your why. Why are you working in this clinic? What attracted you to this job compared to all the other jobs out there? Realize with goal setting, you can't get to where you want to go if you don't know where that thing is, where you want to go. Okay, so really I can't overemphasize the goal creation. And then understanding and being understood. Learn about personalities so that you can better understand your team. We talked about this last week, and you can go back to the recording of last week. Know your quadrants. Know who is the fun person who thrives on fun. Know who needs to be the nurturer. Know who needs to be inundated with facts and who thrives on facts and who can give you a bullet point list all day long. Know who's the leadership personality in your clinic, and then use that. Not only that, but allow them to learn about themselves also so that they can understand each other. You need to know what motivates the individual person. That's really, really important, so that when they get into their conflict quadrant, you know how to address that. You need to know why they have the attitudes. That goes to understanding them individually. Pull them out of their group setting. You know that saying, birds of a feather flock together? Well, it's true. And, they all kind of group together and it gets very cliquey. So pull them out of that. Try to pair them up with somebody else who they normally don't hang out with. Because that saying goes a little bit further. It's birds of a feather flock together and shit on the same stone. Just in case you didn't know that. Seriously, if they flock together like that, they can just create massive havoc in your clinic. So pull them apart, pair them up with other people. You also need to know why they feel entitled. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Entitlement comes because they've been there a really long time. And for some reason, they haven't moved up in the ranks. Now, there's only so much moving up you can do as a kennel person. And yes, you're going to say, well, they should have known that when they were hired in. But they forget that. They see so many things and they help you out all the time. Reward them for that. Give them something else to do. Acknowledge that they've been there a really long time and they know more than the licensed vet tech you just hired a couple of months ago. Okay, acknowledge their feelings for entitlement. It's only a bad thing if you don't address it in a positive way. So it's not about the behavior, it's about the cause of the behavior. Why are you getting attitude? Why are you getting lip? Why are you getting those entitlement issues? For the doctors, I hear a lot of times that doctors have attitudes, and I addressed that a little bit in the beginning of this presentation. You'd be surprised how little attitudes doctors have if you ask them for help, or if you give them some room. If you're not, you need something from them and you want it right away. Instead of talking to them, I just gave this little bit of a hint to a client of mine a few months ago. Stick a sticky note on their desk or on the computer that they're going to use. Just put it in the corner and say, Dr. X, can I please see you about client such and such, by the end of the day. Allow them to then come to you on their time. Ask them to present something at a staff meeting. Oh, I really liked how you handled Mrs. So-and-so. Would you mind sharing that at the next staff meeting? You'll be surprised at how quickly the attitude goes away. So that's all that I had for today. If you have some questions, type them into the little chat box. If you want more information from me, obviously we could talk about this all day long. I just wanted to give you an overview so that you know what to do, kind of give you a starting point. But if you want more information, you have a specific problem that you want to talk about, just set up a free strategy session with me. I would love to talk to you about it. You can do that by going to my website at www.dblcoaching.com. There's a black banner. It's on the home page. It says on there, schedule a free strategy session. Just click on that, and you can get into my online calendar and pick a date, pick a time, and we'll talk for about 30 minutes or so. Or you can email me directly at hjung@dblcoaching.com and let me know, what your problems are, how I can help you. I'm here for you. If you give me specific topics that you would like to discuss or hear about, then, I can try to work towards that in one of the next upcoming webinars. I think I'm scheduled out until the middle of February, but then I have some openings. So with that presentation today, do you have any questions for me that I can answer in the next 7 minutes that we still have? If so, just go ahead and type your message in your little chat box. Other than that, I will just assume that you got something out of this, or that you will contact me directly and we can discuss the problems that you have at your clinic. And I will see you again next Thursday between 1 and 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. And next Thursday, I'm going to be talking to a award-winning author of The Conscious Cat. Super excited to be talking to her about her service, and it'll be a little bit different. So I'm super excited about that. So I don't see any questions. I'm assuming that this was as clear as can be for the little amount of information that you got. And I hope that the first thing that you will do is maybe go back to the webinar from last week, go over that information about the different personalities, figure out what personalities are working in your clinic, create goals for the clinic, for yourself, for the next 12 months. Be really clear about those goals, and then focus in on who can help you achieve those goals. And of course, talk to your practice owner or another manager or supervisor in your clinic. Okay, that's all from me. You are very welcome, and we'll see you again next week. Have a great weekend if you're here in the Virginia area. Hope we don't get too much snow. Stay safe and stay warm. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.